Someone else who has seen that tunnel system up close is journalist Ghadi Francis. She's been an eyewitness reporter since this conflict erupted, and she joins me now from Beirut. Ghadi, you've seen these tunnels. You were inside one of them 10 years ago. A lot of questions I have for you, but let's begin with your own impressions and observations. What was it like?
My first impression and observation is that it's not something exotic and adventurous to showcase and to act like a hero for seeing. It is the only lifeline for medicine, for food, for any kind of life, for more than 2 million people for more than 15 years. These tunnels are not some exotic combat world where we can discover how to exterminate people on basis of it is an only place where I could pass to see fellow journalists and activists and human beings imprisoned in the world's largest prison, as per 200 Israeli academics and researchers. They called Israel an apartheid state. They called Gaza the world's largest prison. Before we start talking about these tunnels as if it's an exotic adventure for an investigative journalist like myself, it was the only way to get to meet my friends, my fellow journalists and activists. This is why I discovered the tunnel, actually, Asieh, because I was stuck in Rafah borders, and then my friends who worked in a radio station got me kind of permit. And then I waited in a room. It wasn't that exotic. I was waited and stuffed, and it was really dangerous, and we could die passing. And I walked for around 3-4 minutes, and then I could say that I was like, it was, they call it an elevator. It's not an elevator. Everything is super dangerous, and everyone who passes there is a civilian or an international community kind of solidarity person, whether a journalist or an activist or a doctor. So we're talking about these tunnels as if we're talking about terrorist attack and counter-attack. And while we're talking about these tunnels, while the world is listening to such reports and the nomenclatures, every day hundreds of people are dying. They are civilians as well. Just like the 240 hostages that all these reports are revolving around.
So I mean, I don't know if you watched our coverage, but we've definitely tried to talk about the hostages. We've talked about the destruction in Gaza, in the refugee camp. So I don't know what you're watching, but at least
I'm not here to give my verdict. I'm not here to give my verdict whether I am politically correct or the way any coverage of CGTN or any other media. But I think we all know that for the past century or even more, in every war in history, the mainstream media, the global mainstream media, is always aligned with the U.S. foreign policy in every war.
Oh, Ghadi, that is a conversation. Listen, you're a journalist, I'm a journalist. But my job right now, right this moment, is to ask you questions about your experience in this tunnel. We can save all the rest for another conversation another time. You're one of the few journalists.
So my experience in the tunnel was I needed to pass to enter to that prison. So I passed through that tunnel. It wasn't any kind of military.
Okay, but let me ask you.
Military, actually.
Okay, what about the flow of arms inside these tunnels?
Well, actually, this is the way. So trying to be informative, first of all, excuse me, Asieh, this is really traumatic for us.
I understand.
It's a generational trauma.
I understand.
So being emotional is just a part of the mixture.
No worries.
This is why it's very delicate to articulate. So these tunnels are not in one place or in one shape, and I cannot come and say that I know what every tunnel would look like. Yes, of course, the actual way the resistance is actually getting its weapons and actually being able to work without the intelligence of the Israeli defense forces finding out is this. But also it is not really everywhere and the only way, and it's not really right to say that if all Gaza is tunnels, it is okay to kill anyone on the way there, you know?
So do you think Israel's bombing campaign and its intense ground operation, they've said they're going to go find these tunnels, they're going to destroy these tunnels. How challenging is that going to be? And once you destroy and find these tunnels, they can just build more tunnels.
Well, I don't really buy any statement that comes from that occupation force, because it's a genocidal attempt and action as per the genocide law, as per the Geneva law. We are talking about war criminals. I don't buy their story. It is 101 propaganda, because these tunnels were there. These tunnels are there. These tunnels will be always there. It is just a reason to continue ethnic cleansing towards a people in the middle of every community's watch and testimony. Everyone is watching what's happening. We don't want to put nomenclatures on that. It's not a war on tunnels, and it's never about tunnels, and it will never be about tunnels. This is just a 75-year-old war. We're talking about now, if Israel is now like wanting to have a full operation because they want to deliver some kind of win for their troubled inside politics and community, it is maybe this is what they're saying. But what is actually on the ground, what is actually in the facts, the numbers that are actually there, Asieh, hospitals are bombed, doctors are killed, press teams and journalists are targeted on that way. I do not trust the killer or the killer's story.
Ghadi, we certainly appreciate your time. We appreciate you taking the time talking to us. And I understand this is an emotional story for so many people. And I do empathize. My job is to ask the questions. So thank you for being here to at least answer some of them.